So today I'll be talking about Jigsaw's work with WWF UK on a digital supporter community that puts inclusivity front and centre. I'll begin by outlining WWF's current environmental goals and explain how greater supporter engagement is central to achieving these. I'll then consider how WWF's Insight community, which is called the Pod, has helped the charity bring its diverse range of supporters into decision making. So, I thought I'd start by showing a summary of the main environmental issues putting our planet at risk. As a conservation charity, WWF aims to raise awareness of these threats and take action to tackle them. I'm sure none of this comes as news to you, but some of the data behind these issues is a little more surprising, so I've put together a short quiz to test your knowledge. Please feel free to post your answers in the chat. Here comes the first question. What percentage of tiger populations have we lost since the start of the 20th century? 75%, 85%, or 95%? And I'll give you a few seconds to consider this. Okay, time's up. The exact answer here is 95%, with there being around 3,000 tigers left in the wild. Now for the second question. What percentage of food grown for human consumption is wasted? 30%, 40%, or 50%? A whopping 40% is wasted, with land used for food production having a huge impact on habitat loss worldwide. Aside from allowing me to try my hand as a quiz show host, the past few slides further highlight an urgent need to address environmental issues. The UN General Assembly has warned that our generation is the last that can prevent irreparable damage to the environment. To play its part in addressing these issues, WWF's overall aim is to halt the decline of nature by 2030 and see signs of recovery by 2050. But they can't do it alone. The charity needs to be more inclusive in bringing its diverse range of supporters into decision making. From lobbying governments to signing petitions, involving a diverse group of people helps increase the profile and impact of campaigns. The charity also wants supporters to have a bigger role in shaping products, experiences, and communications. Input from supporters can help WWF better connect with a broader audience and create content that is inspiring and engaging. What's more, supporters play an important role in helping WWF bring more people into the environmental movement and empower them to drive it. WWF aimed to set up a research program flexible enough to cover a range of issues and audiences in a robust, cost-effective way. A key requirement here was inclusivity, and that's where Jigsaw came in. We decided the most inclusive and agile approach for this research was through a supporter community on Jigsaw's Ycatcher platform. We really wanted this to feel like an extension of WWF, so set up a branded website as you can see on the left. Naming the community also fed into this, and we decided to call it the Pod, which is again on brand because it refers to a group of dolphins. The Pod was launched in October last year. We've mainly recruited for this through WWF's CRM database, and a total of 1,043 supporters from across the UK have signed up so far. WWF see this as a long-term project, so have not set a close date for the community. Through the Pod, we can launch multiple tasks. We wanted these tasks to be as accessible as possible, so adopted a mobile-first, multi-device approach. We use all the tools you'd expect to see on a digital community, from surveys, polls, and discussion boards, but also net chats. We can also conduct automated research through WhatsApp. Being able to run tasks through WhatsApp is great. It's an accessible platform that many supporters on the Pod are already in the habit of using, and it's well suited to in-the-moment video and diary tasks. My colleague Julie is going to touch on WhatsApp in a bit more detail during the third presentation today. We've also used more traditional approaches such as depth interviews and focus groups. The WWF team access results through a portal hosted on our YCatcher platform. Each web-based or WhatsApp task has its own analysis dashboard, with data being reported in real time. What's more, any video or audio content collected is automatically transcribed. So I'm now going to talk about 4 key ways that the pod has helped WWF be more inclusive, both with involving supporters in decision making and internal stakeholders in research activities. First, the pod allows supporters to become more involved with WWF. WWF used to run ad hoc research projects, such as online surveys or focus groups. Feedback from these activities had a limited short-term impact on WWF's decision-making. In contrast, the pod gives supporters ongoing involvement in WWF's work. The pod has also helped WWF better represent supporter diversity. The charity previously had limited data on supporters, which made it hard to involve specific group in research activities. We profile participants when they sign up to the pod. This profiling allows us to segment on ethnicity, age, location, social grade, as well as political outlook, helping WWF to better identify and access different supporter groups. WWF's most engaged supporters tended to be overrepresented in previous research. The pod allows the charity to research a broader range of supporters, from armchair environmentalists to die-hard campaigners. So, the community has helped WWF speak to a more diverse group of supporters. Here's a quick case study on perceptions of WWF that we ran through the pod. We use WhatsApp diaries and focus groups for this. The key thing here is that sample represented the diversity WWF was aiming for when we set up the pod, and findings from this research has helped WWF identify how to optimize communications and fundraising for different segments, with new content currently being developed. In terms of bringing supporter perspectives to life, forums help drive a degree of understanding and empathy, which leads WWF to be more inclusive in its output. Forums also opportunities for collaboration and two-way conversations with participants. Using WhatsApp has also helped the WWF team build empathy, with image, audio and video feedback getting them closer to supporters. I'm now going to show a few video responses we've collected through the pod.
You can appeal to many different people. I think if you wanted to appeal to younger generations, you would need to monopolise your social media. You used David Attenborough, which was really good when he had some documentaries on BBC iPlayer, but you could make it a little bit more interactive, have more factual posts, more videos of other celebrities getting involved with the WWF and various other organisations that help clean up the planet, as well as promoting sustainable brands.
And in terms of what I get out of it, in terms of being a supporter, I think it's about hope. I get hope, a real sense of hope and some positivity. I get understanding, insights and learning. I feel like I'm making a difference and I can learn more about how to make more of a difference.
And what I like about WWF is they have a range of campaigns and they work with other organisations. For example, Sky in a seagrass planting operation. So it's not just one organisation trying to do one thing. It's one organisation working with others with a range of solutions.
Great. So there's just some video feedback examples there. So moving on. The pod has also led to more inclusivity in terms of how WWF is using research. So before, WWF had limited occasional access to supporters and everything was managed by their research team. The pod has helped to take people out of silos, with it being used across teams. Analysis and reporting from research is also used to be quite complicated and inaccessible. but the pod generates bite-sized, at-a-glance outputs that are more useful for engaging different stakeholders. So, considering Jigsaw's work with WWF, I've put together a few do's and don'ts for building inclusive communities. In terms of do's, I'd recommend building a targeted recruitment plan to ensure that a diverse range of people sign up, not just those who are the most engaged with brands. This may mean using different methods to recruit sample. So, for example, we now use WWF social media channels to recruit more casual supporters. It's also important to make tasks simple for less technically minded audiences and those with impairments, and offer clear ways for them to get help if they do encounter an issue. And finally, for do's, giving opportunities for participants to speak with one another and the client team also helps with engagement. And for don'ts, consider whether the incentives you offer are appealing to different groups. So it's really important to, make sure that incentives have sort of broad appeal amongst different audiences. And for the pod, we decided to give respondents the option to receive rewards through PayPal or donate earnings back to WWF. But incentives alone aren't enough to keep people engaged. Participants also want to know that they're making a difference, so it's important to communicate the impact that their feedback has made. It's also vital to not underestimate the importance of involving internal stakeholders, which encourages engagement and buy-in from across client teams. So that's it. Thanks very much for listening, and I welcome any questions.